Rachel. Thank you. And the Star Spangled Banner will be sang by members of the St. John Endicott High School Choir. The St. John Endicott High School Choir with your Star Spangled Banner. We're going to have a flyover by MedStar. And we would like everybody to stand again, please, if we could, for a very specific reason and in honor of a local area soldier who passed in the service to his country. Justin Klaus was from Sprague, and today the flags will be lowered to half-mast in honor and remembrance of Justin and the sacrifice that he made for our country. Thank you very much. All right, racing will get underway in just a moment. We will have a flyover by Northwest MedStar's helicopter. We want to thank them for coming out here. They will have actually one of their critical care medical teams will be arriving. They're going to be available today to show the helicopter and answer any questions that you might have dealing with medical support. The Webb family, Matt and Amanda, recommend signing your family up for MedStar membership today. Webb SLU also would like to honor and thank all of the vets who have served and the military who are currently serving to protect our nation. Thank you for the sacrifices that you and in particular your families have already made to keep our freedoms and our privileged way of life. So racing will get underway in just a minute. We're noticing that some of the boats are getting ready, getting staged, and we'll have racing underway. The super mods will start things off. First three boats out will be boat 623, that is Clint Birch and Renee Faircloth, followed by boat 156, Ron DeMoe and Stephen Church, and then last year's undefeated champion, Dennis Hughes and Mattia Haskey from Spokane in boat 69. No one was able to touch Dennis last year. once we get timing set up, things are going to get underway. Again, our first three boats out will be Clint Birch and Renee Faircloth, his navigator, in boat 623 from Canby and Oregon. Actually, make that Malino. Followed by Ron DeMoe and Stephen Church in boat 156. Stephen's from Junction City, Oregon. Ron makes the long drive from Minden, Nevada. And then, of course, boat 69, Dennis Hughes and Mattia Haskey. Mattia is from Aberdeen, Dennis from Spokane. No one was even close to touching Dennis Hughes last year, with the exception of one boat driven by Eric Werner, who was sort of in the running, but Dennis always was capable of pulling out an amazing run in the finals and went untouched last season. So the question is, can he do it again? Boats are warming up. You can follow American Sprint Boat Racing by going to asbracing.com. You'll be able to find a list of all of the races this year, a schedule of events. All right, our first boat out, boat 623, Clint Birch and Renee Faircloth. They had a major accident here last year. Then Clint was dealing with some back problems from it. But he is back. He was last year's Hard Charger of the Year in his rookie season. And charging hard to get things started off. So he gets our very first DNF, did not finish. So, boat 623 gets the DNF. Boat 156 with Ron DeMoe and Stephen Church out next. One of really only a couple of boats that are all white, which is kind of odd. For several years, Ron had the only white boat, so it was always easy to tell when Ron was on the water. Boat 156. Last year, you could say, was kind of a breakout year for Ron, finally kind of getting not only the boat dialed in, but also his driving skills dialed in. And was definitely in the hunt all season long last year. As I said, Dennis Hughes, the fastest of the Supermods last year all season long. The battle was really between second and third all year long, and Ron was one of those guys that was in the hunt for second and third all year long. So on this particular part of the rotation, the drivers were saying that they were worried about hitting their own wake as they come through. Boats are not made to really run on what you would call hard, choppy water. So it'll be interesting to see the rotations and the drivers and the boats get more comfortable and these runs get faster throughout the day, how much that choppiness is really going to affect the racing. Ron's boat has a fairly unique sound, and he comes over to say hello. We'll call that a DNF. Hung it a little wide, grabbed the bank, and then it was all about trying to parallel park after that. So Ron DeMoe gets the second DNF as our safety crew. So Ron DeMoe gets the inglorious walk back into the water. We want to thank, by the way, our safety crew out there. The safety crew, very important to sprint boat racing. They're all volunteers. We refer to them as the island hoppers. Of the crew that you're watching out there, we have 11 EMTs, 12 firefighters, we have 3 police officers on hand, 4 first responders, and all of them have first aid training, even though we're only seeing about 7 of them right now. We are well staffed with emergency crew members. We have a lost dog named Molly that is at the front gate. If you have a dog named Molly, your dog is at the front gate. All right, so 2 DNFs in a row, 623 and 156. It's up to Dennis Hughes now to put in our first clean run of the day. One of the things that led to Dennis's success last year was his design of the impeller and the jet system, which was actually kind of a radical design of his own. And he, as of this year, he just started marketing that new impeller. And while he says there was a lot of things that went into it, he does give a lot of credit to his success last year to that unique designed impeller with 3 screws as opposed to 4. So our understanding is that MedStar is on the way, soon to be landing out here. They are on the horizon to the north of St. John right now. And boat 69, Dennis Hughes from Spokane. Wow. So Dennis comes out working hard. Was a rock and run. So 49.584 for Dennis Hughes and Mattia Haskey on their first run out. A perfect run. Well, perfect in as much as they took all the right corners. They're sponsored, by the way, by Perfection Tire. Also Precision Finish. And Davis Office Furniture. So you'll notice the white and yellow MedStar helicopter circling the field. Scott Jensen and Kerry Jensen in boat number 08, the first of our Fat Buddies on the water today. And you can tell by the way they bounce, they're catching some of their own wake. For the Jensens. Unofficially, 54.550. And that is official. So 54.550 for boat 08, Scott and Kerry Jensen, part of the Fat Buddies. So we have 3 vehicles north of the number 10 camp that need to be moved. If you're down in the pit area. So 3 vehicles just north of the number 10 camp need to be moved. So a good run for Scott and Kerry Jensen from Maple Ridge, British Columbia. They're also sponsored by Davis Office Furniture. By the way, we mentioned that Dennis Hughes and Mattia Haskey, defending champions in the Supermod from last year, they're going to be tag teaming a boat. We will see them again in the 400 class, driving in boat 88. Meanwhile, Robert Cox and his wife, Amy, are warmed up. They're in the start channel, waiting for them, the start pool, waiting for them to come out. They are driving the only Ford-powered boat on the course. Completely new boat this year. Completely rebuilding the top and bottom end of the engine. Making some definite changes and tweaks. MedStar, of course, landing just on the other side of the slough. I want to thank them for coming out. So boat 49049, the only Ford-powered boat in sprint boat racing here in the U.S. and Canada. So we have a DNS for boat 49. And when I talked to Robert yesterday, he said, you know, we haven't even had this thing in the water yet, so we'll have to see what happens. So boat 166, Bud Florco and Josh Dunham, part of the Fat Buddies, now coming out. Bud's from Mission, British Columbia, as is his navigator, Josh. That boat has a lot of bounce, and he lost power, so it doesn't look like he's going to kiss the bank. So we get the DNF for boat 166. Robert Cox, they said that he was going to get a DNS. Evidently, we've got a steering cable problem that they're fixing, so he is on the 5-minute clock. That will bring out boat 59 while we wait for them, Jamie Hassel and Leslie Hassel, also Fat Buddies. They're from Tulameen, British Columbia. Thanks to Dale P. Nunn Photography for the fantastic pictures of the slough, and also thank you for all the support of the venue. Also, a big thank you to Davis Office Furniture, not only a sponsor of a number of our racers out here, but also a main sponsor at Webb Slough. They buy, sell, trade, and rent new and used office furniture. You can check out their showroom on Trent in Spokane for all of your home and small office needs. Davis Office Furniture, always proud to be out here and support sprint boat racing at Webb Slough. And if you're over in the beer garden, we hope you're enjoying yourselves. Can we hear it from the beer garden? Okay, for folks not in the beer garden, I can tell you that will get quieter as the day goes on. King Beverage brings you the Budweiser over in the beer garden. They want to remind you that before you start your engines, make sure you have a designated driver that's going to be leading the crew. We want you to stay safe so that your team wins. Responsibility does matter. And as a warning, we have not only county but also state police that will be canvassing the area looking for folks that may be drinking and driving or driving aggressively today. So just keep in mind, if you're going to have fun in the beer garden, don't get behind the wheel. So boat 049 will be coming out. They got the steering cable fixed. Racing. Webb Slough Racing would like to thank our volunteer slough crew, the Rosalia ambulance crew, and also the Colfax ambulance crews, along with Whitman Hospital staff, MedStar, the Willamette or the Whitman County Sheriff's Office, the Washington State Patrol, the St. John and the Colfax Fire Departments. All of them, thanks for keeping everybody out here safe. So we're waiting for 049. So if you've been out here to Webb Slough before, you've seen boat 049. You've just not seen this particular boat, 049. Has a slipstream hull built in Spokane. You'll see several boats that have the slipstreams. So Robert already mentioned that he's going to be taking it easy in the boat at least the first couple of runs just to get some break-in time on the engine and to get the feel of the setup of the boat. Setup is incredibly important on those boats. Where the seats are located, where the weight of the engine goes. Just a couple of inches forward or back can make all the difference in the way that the boat handles and rides in the water. After some initial cobwebs, we get a clean run from Robert Cox, 60.469 unofficially. And that is an official time now. Boat 59 on the way out. Jamie Hassel and Leslie Hassel from Tulameen, British Columbia. Again, boat 049 is 60.469. Pick up a little time on the back end of the run, and it is clean. and a couple of people get a shower. So 63.904, the official time for boat 59. And that will bring up local racer from Colfax, boat 17, Scott Ackerman and Graham Reynolds. He's sponsored by Digitron Acquisitions. And he told me yesterday that while he's keeping the engine, he is selling the whole of this particular boat. So if you're interested, you can see Scott Ackerman. The boat is 17. Got a couple of years of use on that particular hull, but it has stayed mostly in the water, so no big dings or problems. Clean. .649, the official time for boat 17. Next up is going to be our rookie this year, Mel Craven and Allie Keith. Boat number 5. He's also from Spokane. Their team was formed in 2013, actually, when he was approached by Precision Propeller with an offer to compete in sprint boat racing with a boat that they had recently purchased. All he had to provide was the actual engine for the boat. And here comes Mel. Boat number 5. It's a very low profile boat. The hull was a home built job. Little wide on that corner. That's bit 3 drivers so far today, and he comes out and parks pretty much where Ron DeMoe did. So that'll be a DNF. So looks like that the seats right down there in front are going to be the action seats today. Mel Craven out of the water. He is the owner of Northwest Speed and Marine, which is an outboard service in Spokane. So one of the issues of being a new driver is getting the feel of these particular boats, which handle quite a bit differently than the average jet boat or the average commercial boat, in as much as they handle these corners very tightly. But the steering really comes from the back of the boat. So, for instance, if you're going to come around a tight corner, you put the tip of the boat, the front of the boat, the bow, on that corner, because the back end of the boat is going to sweep around and provide all of the turn. And so it's a little bit different than driving a normal vehicle or a normal race car where all the steering comes from the front of the vehicle. And it's a different feeling. These boats can pull up to 7 Gs in the corners. They're capable of speeds of 0 to 80 miles an hour in a little under 3 seconds. You get into the super boats. Some of the super boats actually will pump 700 gallons of water a second. That's what's propelling these boats. Head over to Vendor Row and check out some of the swag being sold by the different crews. You can pick up, for instance, some SLU gear. They've got the brand new T-shirts this year. They have your T-shirts, tank tops, visors, hooded sweatshirts, cups, blankets. Remember, at Web SLU, the motto is, the wetter the better. Also, Wicked Racing has their booth set up for all of your Wicked apparel, from T-shirts to hats, to even down to baby onesies. Scream Designs is also in Vendor Row with the coolest T-shirt designs for the ultimate sprint boat racing fans. They always put together the official ASB designs for the year. Folks over at Scream Designs will set you up. Bandit Racing also out here. That's one of the new teams as of last year. And by the way, today, if you visit the Bandit Racing booth, buy 2 items and get a free bandana, and you can be a bandit too. Fear Not Racing also in Bender Row, along with Fat Buddy Racing. This will be boat 99, Dylan Cummings and Terry Cummings from Sequim, Washington. Dylan, former national champion. For a long time, Dylan was also the youngest racer in sprint boat racing. I believe he was 16 or 17 when he won the national championship. His stepmom, Terry, in the navigation seat. Call it good. .298 for Dylan and Terry Cummings. They had kind of an off year last year, dealing with a number of engine problems. But it's good to see them back and running. So boat 99, a 54.298. That brings us to Bill Reichert and Mike Woods, part of the Fat Buddies. Both are from Tulameen. Sponsored by Reichert Sales and Service. pick up that particular part of the rotation where you come up to that island at the very top. Looks like it's going to be a problem. A number of drivers out here I'm noticing today have clipped that island. So as they start taking the course a little more aggressively, it'll be interesting to see how many actually hit that and what kind of problems it becomes. That was a clean run, by the way, for boat 54. .197 for boat 54. So boat 22 would have been our last of the Supermods, but they have scratched for this round. That brings us to the A400 class, boat 88, Jordy Cook and Deb Cook. In a moment, we'll recap the modifieds in the first qualifying run. So boat 88, Jordy and Deb Cook, also Fat Buddies. Buddy Black. Very little of the orange on this particular boat, except on the deck on top. Okay, this was boat 76. Oh! They were making the hard charge out. That, by the way, was boat 76. My mistake, Brian Swindoll and Aubrey Swindoll. So we'll wait to get a hands up to make sure that they're both okay from our emergency crews. Fortunately, we do have a number of first responders that are a part of the emergency crews, so we're waiting for a hands up. So can we get a hands up from our safety crew if they're okay? So they are good. And they got a time of 59.500. So they came out just after coming out of the eye, the electronic eye. And we'll be waiting for... Apparently, we're going to need to get a trailer to get them out. So we do need medical over there. That was a bad hit. This is Brian Swindoll's second year of racing. I chatted with him a little bit earlier this morning about safety gear. All right, well, you're a second-year racer. What have you learned?
Well, we learned that we had to go back and do our homework. We basically went back and changed everything in the boat, changed a little bit of our balance, and took it out and did a little testing. We think we got it.
Yeah. But when you say you did some changing, like what?
Well, we moved some weight back to try and move the center of gravity. We had a little bit of a bow steer problem with it. And we did update the jet. We went from the 7.5 Scott to an 8.5 Scott now. So that kind of changes the characteristic of the boat. So that's pretty much the extent of the changes. It's pretty major though in a little boat like this.
Give people an idea what it's like the first time you get out on the water in one of these, and it's your boat, you hit the water, and you're driving it.
Well, I mean, it's a real thrill. I mean, when you step on the throttle, things start going by real fast. So, and you really rely on your navigator to give you the directions on which way to go. I'm concentrating on trying to keep it in the middle of the channel, and she's concentrating on which way to go. You really count on them.
And keeping it in the center of the channel, not necessarily easy, because these channels are not wide.
These channels are really narrow, and your natural tendency is to try and cut the corners, which can be a mistake. So the concentration level is pretty high.
And the boat steers from the back as opposed to the front.
Yeah, that's correct. And the steering's very quick too, so it's a real balance.
Talk a little bit. Now, I noticed this year you're doing something a little bit different as far as the safety gear goes. Everybody's required to have helmets, the NASCAR-style straps, the fire suits and the like, but you've actually done something a little bit different with the helmets.
Yeah, we've gone to the AAS system from Lifeline, Kent Fauntleroy down in Chandler, Arizona. This is similar to the setup that you see the drag boat guys running, the unlimited hydroplane guys. It's an air-fed system. We have small bottles in the boat. The air is triggered when the mask gets wet, so you're not on the bottle unless the mask goes under. I think we got awesome island hoppers here. They usually got you out in about 30 seconds. Some guys never go upside down in the water. But then in the event if you're hurt or knocked out possibly and you're upside down in the water, this system will automatically supply you air until you get out of the boat.
And it's a great idea, and you guys just started experimenting with it. I mean, this is the first time I've seen it at the sprint boat races, so you guys are kind of the prototype.
We actually are prototyping it for Kent. The helmet is the same as the drag boat guys, but the system that we have set up is unique to sprint boat racing. And it is a prototype. It may be refined over the course of the year. And I think it's going to be a good system.
All right. Brian, thanks for chatting, and good luck to Team Bandit.
All right, thank you. Appreciate it.
So that is Brian Swindoll. Chatted with him just a couple of hours ago. And, of course, the very first of the bad wrecks of the day, and hopefully we don't have any more wrecks like that. So not a good start to the day for Brian and his new navigator, who gets broken in the hard way. That would be Aubrey. But they still get the time, which is a 59.500. So you can see why safety is so important in sprint boat racing, because these boats can hit hard. By the way, we have some viewers up in Surrey. We're talking Surrey, British Columbia. Tudor Ale House in Surrey is streaming, running and viewing a live stream of the race today. So we'd like to say hello to all of our friends and fans at the Tudor Ale House up in Surrey, British Columbia. Give them a big St. John hello. By the way, if you can't make the races, you can always watch them on race day on Ustream.tv. We stream all of the races all season long, so you have a chance to check them out there. We want to thank all the folks that are watching from around the globe. I know that we always have viewers down in Australia and also in New Zealand. New Zealand, the home of sprint boat racing. That was where it was created. And, of course, the sport moved across the ocean a little bit to Australia, so a nice rivalry between the Aussies and the Kiwis in sprint boat racing. A few years later, some folks from Idaho were in New Zealand and just happened to see the sport, and they brought it back here. First of the sprint boat race tracks in the United States was in Idaho. They started off by racing in rivers up there, which is not necessarily a great idea. The water out here, 2.5 to 3 feet deep. You get in a river, and one of these things does a little submarine, and you've lost your boat. We've seen it happen a couple of times in some of the channels, not here, though, in some of the other tracks where a boat will catch some air and literally nose down in and submarine and sink. Usually pretty time-consuming to get them out. So this is boat 1-3. Fat Buddy Prime, the first of the Fat Buddies, Scott Saxton and Frank Ferrand. Once again, flipping that island. And it was good. .081 for both 13. Scott Saxton, Frank Ferrand. And that brings up boat number 2. Paul and daughter Taylor. It's the Gars. Paul was just a few points behind last year's national champion, Doug Hendrickson, on the season. He had a great year last year. One of the smoother drivers that you'll see. They made some major renovations to the boat for this year, and we'll see how well Paul and daughter Taylor fare. Taylor getting ready to start college after this summer. Not hugely fast, but nicely done. .152 for the Gars in boat number 02. The boat is live wire. That'll bring us to Darren and Ashley Swindoll in boat 47. So the fastest boat on the water so far today, at least in terms of time, is Dennis Hughes and Mattia Haskey in boat 69, putting in a 49.584. So they pretty much setting the pace today. Boat 47, the Swindolls, part of Bandit Racing. Stop by the Bandit Racing booth and pick up some of the stuff. Sponsored by Modutech Marine. Call that a DNF. boat 88, which would have been the first out in the 400 class, was going to be driven as well by Dennis Hughes and Mattia Haskey. It will also get a DNS. Did not start in this particular run. Last year's champion, Doug Hendrickson and Nicole Heaton Muller, will be out next in boat number 1, we're hoping. Part of Wicked Team Racing, Doug Hendrickson, one of the co-founders of the American Sprint Boat Racing Group. You can go to asbracing.com, by the way, to learn more about sprint boat racing. Doug, a part of Team Wicked Racing. And the Wicked team, of course, has their gear over there if you want to pick up some Wicked apparel in that hot key lime green color. The El Katif Shriners Duck Race is coming up. They've been doing the duck race since about 1991, and they've raised over $600,000, and it supports the Spokane Shriners Hospital and also the Patient Transportation Fund. The Shriners Hospitals for Children is a healthcare system of 22 hospitals around the country dedicated to improving the lives of kids, providing pediatric specialty care, a variety of different types of research, even teaching programs for medical professionals, and kids up to 18 with everything from burns to spinal cord injuries, sports injuries, and orthopedic conditions all receive services in these family-centered environments. So for $5 you can buy a duck race ticket and help support the Spokane Shriners Hospital. This year's first prize is $10,000. Second prize is a Lake Roosevelt Super Cruiser. Third prize, $1,000. Fourth prize is a mini 110cc four-wheeler, and fifth prize is $500. You can stop by the Shriners Duck Race booth and pick up your tickets. Of course, the real winners in this are the kids that end up at the Shriners Hospital. But we want to thank the El Katif Shriners for putting this together. Inland Cellular can get you a nationwide voice with data and entertainment from your own locally owned company. They're out here, of course. They love Web Slew. It's Inland Cellular. They've been serving you for 25 years. And they've got the next big thing, the Galaxy S5. They're your local Inland Cellular store. They've been serving the region for 25 years. That's Inland Cellular. Speaking of Inland, Inland Empire Milling Company is pleased to support Web Slew and all the volunteers and participants that make the event so successful.
Beautiful day for racing here at Web Slew. I want to thank everybody who's tuned in today and everybody who's contributed in the chat. That's very helpful. I'm kind of running this show by myself today, so other than my wife who is at home doing things from her end in the chat as well, and also starting and stopping all the recordings for us.
So, after a little bit of confusion, boat number 88B will make it out with Dennis Hughes behind the wheel and his longtime navigator, Mattia Haskey. So boat 88 making it into the water. That is, the boat itself is owned by Jordy and Deb Cook. Part of the reason, and this is kind of a good idea for Jordy and Deb, is that Dennis, of course, I refer to him as the backyard engineer. His boat, he's literally hand-built pretty much from the ground up. The only thing he didn't hand-build was the engine. But everything else he put together himself, his own design. So for Jordy to have somebody like Dennis in the boat, he can tell him how to set it up, improvements that he can make in terms of handling, how he can squeeze out a little bit more performance out of that engine. It's kind of like having the wizard drive your boat and then give you free design tips. So here comes boat 88B, driven by Dennis Hughes and Mattia Haskey. Dennis, of course, had the fastest time in the Supermods, and the fastest time on the course today with a 49 and change in the first of the qualifying runs in the Supermods. So we see him again in the A400 class. And he gets the clean run. .674 in boat 88B. I've wondered how confusing it might be to be out there in another boat that handles differently than the boat you've been used to driving for the last few years. Totally different set of expectations when you get behind the wheel. Boat 01, Doug Hendrickson, Nicole Heaton-Muller, Wicked Team Racing. Sponsored by Lucas Oil and K&N, Howell VP Fuel, 7-seaters, among others. Doug's 5-time national sprint boat champion. Clean run. And the fastest so far today in the class, if that unofficial time stands. And it does, 54.322, fastest time in the 400 class today. Which leads us to our youngest driver on the course today, 18-year-old Jesse Miller. And his 15-year-old navigator, Logan Evans. In boat number 9. There was a question of whether they would even be here today, trying to get the boat put together. So we'll see how Jesse fares on his first run out. He's known as Fat Buddy Jr. He's from Langley, British Columbia. Logan, meanwhile, from Bonnie Lake, Washington. His dad, Phil, also has a boat. He'll be racing hopefully later on today in the Supermods. And it looks like Jesse's just trying to kind of get a handle on the way the boat handles. This is a new boat. And it looks good. .656. So our fastest time in the 400 class in this first qualifier was Doug Hendrickson. Boat number 1 with a 54.322. Our second fastest time on the day for the 400s in the first qualifier was Paul and Taylor Gar with a 56.152. And just behind that, Dennis Hughes and Mattia Haskey and 88B with a 56.674. So, Bill Sparling and Gary McNeil now. They're coming out in boat 13. They weren't able to get their superboat going. The rules allow for a race for them to use a different boat. And they're doing that simply because of the points. You miss a race and you miss the points, and that can be pretty much the season. They're racing under their own number, even though it's boat 13. They're racing under their own number, which is number 04. Bill Sparling's rookie year was last year, although he's had a lot of race experience behind the wheel in a variety of different automobiles. He's also a master mechanic. So he had an impressive season last year, but a pretty bad wreck that really destroyed a good chunk of his boat. So this year, a new hull, just pretty much new everything. And they weren't quite able to get it finished to bring it to the race. So he's taking it easy, of course, in boat 13. And it's clean. .654. Dean Lautenschlager, Donna Van Stone in boat 34. We haven't seen them race for a couple of years. Dean, a great technical racer, very smooth. This boat, very fast. Notice how low that boat is riding in the water, by the way. I mean, it is just barely, the top of the boat is just barely the back end out of the water. And when he gets on the throttle, it'll almost look like very little of that boat is sitting in the water. Dean Lautenschlager, boat 34. Part of the superboats. Boat is a twin turbo. Very quiet. And a nice run for Dean Lautenschlager. 54.723. Dan Morrison and Kara McGuire will be out next, part of Wicked Team Racing, boat number 10. He's also a co-founder of ASB Racing. Part of the Wicked Team. It's been about a season and 3/4 since we've seen Dan in the water with a running superboat. And this is his first race with the new setup. Some bank, hangs on to it. Kara McGuire, his longtime navigator, in the co-pilot seat. Clean run. .292, and that ends our first qualifier. So we will now roll into Q2 and the Supermods. We'll see if Clint Birch in boat 623 can get his first clean run in. If you recall, the first two runs of the first qualifier were both DNFs. One of those was an out-of-water experience for Ron DeMoe. So boat 623 will come out, followed by 156, and then we'll see Dennis Hughes and Mattia Haskey again in their normal ride, boat 69. First couple of runs today will be definitely shakedown runs. Everybody making tweaks and adjustments and rebalances over the off-season. For most, this is their first chance to get the boat in the water and see how it handles. Monty's Racing Repair is the sponsor of boat 623, along with Class and Custom Auto Body. And Clint's kind of wide on his corners in this particular run. And that is our first three-hopper of the day. So he gets the trifecta. Can we get a hands up if they're okay over there? Do we get the hands up? So it looks like they're okay to get it out of the water or get it back in the water and off the track. So 2 DNFs in a row for Clint. L&M Truck Sales has been in business in Spokane since 1968. They started selling used trucks to transportation companies, and then they evolved over the years into the farm truck market. They've sold literally hundreds of grain trucks to rural communities like St. John. And since that time, L&M has specialized in custom design, construction quality equipment, including things like truck mount cranes, water trucks, dump trucks, bucket trucks, freight delivery trucks, you pretty much name it, they've made it. Their water trucks are even used by rural fire departments in the United States Forest Service. L&M has an extensive rental fleet, by the way, serving contractors, framers, and utility companies. So, 2 DNFs in a row for Clint and Renee. And that'll bring us to boat 156, who had a DNF and a wreck in the first go-around in Q1. Ron from Minden, Nevada. Big thank you to Wilbur Ellis, your local agricultural, chemical, and fertilizer specialist throughout the Palouse. They assist farmers with their needs and bringing value to their crops, and you can contact any one of their techs at the branches in Fairfield, Toccoa, Oaksdale, or Colfax. Wilbur Ellis Company proudly helping local farmers feed the world. And it looks like second time is not a charm for Ron DeMoe. This time he parks it in a different place. At least there's variety. So the Island Hoppers getting their workout today. Boat 69 in the warm-up circle. Of course, head over to the Budweiser booth, the beer garden, if you're looking for some nice cold beverages today in the adult form. King Beverages. Bring in the Budweiser, the Bud and the Bud Light. And Crown Royal has the beer garden up here in the VIP beer garden. You want to hike to the top of the terrace and celebrate with some Crown Royal, you can do that up here. Crown Royal celebrates those who rise to the occasion and walk to the top of the hill. And for those of you who enjoy your Bud or Royal Crown today, make sure that you take advantage of College Cabs. Not only do they offer cab service and taxi service to the Moscow and Pullman area, but they also have limousines, buses, shuttle service. They offer a variety of inclusive wine tours and brew tour packages around the greater Palouse area. So Ron DeMoe out of the water. Dennis Hughes and Mattia Haskey with the fastest run so far on the day with a 49.584. Getting fired up and pushed in the water. Perfection Tire, one of their sponsors, along with Oxart and Advanced Mechanical Systems, J&G Racing Engines, Milo Davis, Paul Davis Office Furniture in Spokane. So, can he shave some time off of his previous run? The 49.5. could be on his way to doing it. He flat foots it for home. Will he bring it in under 49? Clean run. .272, fastest run on the water so far today. So about 0.3 of a second faster than run number one. If anybody's going to bring it in under 49, it looks like it's going to be Dennis Hughes. Scott and Kerry Jensen in boat 8 had a 55.5 in their first go-around. Boat number 8. Oh! And that will be a DNF. Sometimes you just got to do a cookie. Boat 49 will be out next, 049. Robert Cox and wife Amy. The number of the boat, 049, was by design. Robert's dad used to fly remote-controlled airplanes, and for those that remember remote-controlled airplanes and were fans of it, know of the 049 Cox engine for remote-controlled aircraft. So, hence the name 049. Sponsored by Columbia Auto Body and Paint in Hermiston, Oregon. Robert had a 60.469. Comes out a little more aggressively in this go-around. Somewhat tentative in the first run-through. Wide on the corner. Stuck in the mud. And he's going to bring it home. So he gets the DNF. So problems plaguing the super mods in this qualifier. Only one clean run out of 5 so far with Dennis Hughes and Mattia Haskey. They had a great run with a 49.272 as their time at boat 69. Bud Florco and Josh Dunham had some engine problems in their first run, resulted in a DNF after their engine stalled. See if they can get their first shot at a clean and thorough run. disappointing first run, this is a nice, solid run for the Fat Buddies and Bud Florco. Clean run. .574. Boat 166. So boat 166 pulling the 57.574. They'll be followed by another Fat Buddy, Jamie and Leslie Hassel in boat 59. They're in the warm-up pool and making their way out. Big thank you to Dale P. Nunn Photography for the great pictures they take out of here at the slough and of the races. They get the DNF and we'll bring it home. Jamie was a navigator for a couple of years in boat 88. She's sponsored by J.S. Cook Contracting and Princeton Ready Mix. So still a pretty tough go in the second qualifiers for the Supermods. 17 now, the Colfax guy, Scott Ackerman and Graham Reynolds. Their last run was a 56.64. Well done, Ackerman. Clean run. And quite a bit faster than his previous. 55.520. Shaving well over. That's 55.250. Shaving almost a second and a half, actually a second and a third off of his last run. So Ackerman stepping it up. Mel Craven and Allie Keith in boat 5. They had the DNF wreck in their very first run ever sprint boat racing. So now they've got that auspicious event out of the way, and they can get down to getting their first clean run. keeps it in the water. So Mel gets the bank shot, and he still has a chance at a clean run. Mishap and all, his first clean run. .408 for Mel. In boat number 5. That is boat 5 with a 69.408. That brings us to boat 99, Jeepers Creepers. The name of the boat, Dylan Cummings behind the wheel. His mom, Terry Cummings, in the navigator seat. The 2010 Super Modified Overall and National Champion in 2010. Problems last year, third place in points in 2012. Being very aggressive here, clips the island, loses time. Doesn't look like he'll be able to bring it in under 50, but he's pushing hard. Clean run. So waiting for the official time, unofficially 53.779. And that is official. So that is your second fastest time in the class all day. So 99 comes in with a 53.779. Boat 54 now, Bill Reichert and Mike Woods. They had a 62.197, and this time, that's the way you parallel park. So in case you're wondering, he cut the corner, but he didn't miss the turn, so he's still got the clean run going. So says the official spotter. We have spotters that watch the runs. They make the call on whether the drivers have followed the correct rotation and course through the track. The official spotter has a backup, just like our official timer has a backup as well. And a clean run. .68.06. And boat 22. Phil Miller and Randy Booth. Phil's son Jesse drives boat number 9. For a couple of years, Phil's boat was actually a boat that he would occasionally go salmon fishing in. And when you would ask him, well, why do you use your race boat for fishing? And he goes, I can get to my favorite spot faster. And you can't beat logic like that when you're going for salmon. So they had a DNS in Q1, the brand new boat. See if we can get a run in this time. So, boat 2-2 will attempt to get their first run in today. Thanks for joining us at Web Slough. Head on down to Vendor Row and get some of your Slough gear. Brand new run of t-shirts this year with a different design. And that's a DNF. And he knows it and brings it out. Greenboro Printing is proud to be the official screen printer and embroider for Web Slough. They pride themselves on great custom designs and offering a friendly, personalized service to their customers with in-house customized screen printing as well as embroidery with a team of dedicated employees. You can find Greensboro in the historic Hilliard neighborhood of Spokane or online at greenboro.com. That's GREENBURO.com for all of your screen printing and embroidery projects. So the 400 class will pick up again in Q2. And looks like we will be seeing this time boat 88 with its normal driver, Jordy Cook and Deb Cook. Temperatures expected to hit in the mid to upper 70s today. Make sure you keep yourself hydrated. And remember, if you start feeling lightheaded or you have any kind of issues that require first aid, our first aid station is being manned by the folks from Whitman Hospital with registered nurses. They'll be able to assist you with any first aid needs that you have. They're located right there at the end of the vendor row behind the bleachers. So thank you to Whitman Hospital for coming out here today. So Jordy Cook is going to attempt to get his first run in on the day. We saw the boat a little bit earlier when it was driven by Dennis Hughes and Mattia Haskey. Ow! And Jordy, by the way, as part of ASB rules, will be required to fill his divot. It's one of those rules that we have in common with golf. I know. So we can get a hand up if they're okay. That's the kind of wreck that compresses your spine. It just makes your teeth hurt watching it. So they're okay as they try to haul that boat back into the water. So they're good. Well, we were talking a little bit earlier about Robert Cox and his boat 049 and some changes that he's made to it, and being the only Ford on the course, I chatted with him last night at the Show and Shine. You're the only Ford driver in the sport, and it looks like it's all new, eh, Robert?
Yeah, the motor got freshened up over the winter quite a bit, and brand new hull, brand new roll cage. About the only thing that hasn't changed is the pump.
What about the driver?
The driver needs reprogrammed now.
Okay. All right, so let's talk about that. You haven't had this thing literally off the trailer yet, right?
That's correct. The only water it's seen was to make sure that we didn't have any leaks in the boat, and other than that, it has not left the trailer at all.
Well, this is going to be interesting, trying to come out on what is arguably the hardest of the tracks. But you're going to have to take the first couple of runs slow, right?
Yeah, which is a normal thing for us anyway. We usually don't come off the trailer hot and heavy, but yeah, we'll definitely be taking it very easy those first couple of passes, feel the boat out, learn the course, break the motor in all at the same time. And if everything goes right, by the time third and fourth qualifier roll around, then we should be able to start putting the hammer down a little bit.
So talk about the hole itself. It's a slipstream. Why a slipstream?
Just watching the performance of the slipstreams over the last couple of years. It's made here in Spokane, so there's kind of some pride there. And, you know, it's 300 pounds lighter, a full foot shorter than my old boat, and they seem to be handling a heck of a lot better than that other boat was. So, you know, the proof's in the pudding. You see what those other slipstreams are doing, and there was evidence to go that direction.
Well, you mentioned a mostly refreshed engine here. How much more horsepower?
None. We just went through and replaced all the bearings, seals, and all that stuff. Just while we had it tore apart, it was just easy insurance to make sure everything's right for the new season.
You love this particular track. Have you had a chance to look at the rotation?
I have, and it's, I'll be honest, it's not one that I'm excited to try a new boat on. It's a very tight technical course. Looks like we're going to be crossing our wakes quite a bit, so it's going to be a good test for a new hull, but it's also not going to be a very forgiving test.
Right. Well, and so far that rotation has not been very forgiving today, as we've watched numerous boats park it on the bank in a variety of places, like we just saw Jordy and Deb Cook do. And, of course, Robert had his issues on his last run as well. By the way, if you were planning on attending the next race on July 5th up in Toutle, or over in Toutle, that race, the July 5th race, has been canceled. That's the newest of the sprint boat tracks, and they've had some engineering issues that they're working on that hopefully they're going to be able to get solved in the next couple of weeks. But as a result, the July 5th race has been canceled. So, this is boat 13. Scott Saxon, Frank Veron, Fat Buddy Prime. He started the Fat Buddies. 8 different boats, part of the Fat Buddies. Scott, the one that chose the orange and black colors. And he said just the reason that he chose the orange and black is because he got a great deal at Walmart on it for the jerseys. And that's a great run for him. Clean run. So 53.536. That's the fastest run in the 400 class today. So, Scott Saxon setting the pace. Boat 02, Paul Gar and Taylor Gar will be out next. The boat is Livewire. Paul Gar from Squim. Sponsored by AMSOIL, Hedman Headers, Aero Septic, and Diamond Construction. And Paul shaves off almost a second. Unofficially 55.381. Check us out on Ustream.tv all season long. If you can't make a race, you can see it on Ustream. Boat 47 will be out next. And he hangs on to it, even after the double bank shot. That's nice. Does a little pinballing out there and keeps it in the water. Hits the bumpers and charges for home. Clean run. So, 58.518 for boat 47. Our official time on Paul Gar and boat 02 was a 55.381. Fastest time in the class so far today just came up in this second qualifying round with Scott Saxton and Frank Ferrand putting in a 53.536, much to the joy, I'm sure, of the folks and their fans at the Two Door Ale House in Surrey. Evidently, Frank is a regular at the Tudor. So apparently we will not be seeing boat 88B at this point, but we will be seeing Doug Hendrickson and Nicole Heaton-Muller in boat 01, which is on the trailer right now. We'll wait for them to put it in the water. Go to asbracing.com if you've ever been curious about some of the ins and outs and the technicalities of sprint boat racing. Maybe you're interested, for instance, at purchasing a boat. You're going to find the classifieds on there. A couple of these boats are up for sale today in one form or another. Boat 156, which we've seen out of the water twice today, which I think would be a good bargaining chip for you if you are interested in purchasing it.